So this view again from the WB-57 aircraft.
Dragon SpaceX, a GPS is converged. Expect nominal altitude for drogue chute deploy.
Resilience copies. Nominal altitude for drogue deploy.
Crew Dragon Resilience now 30 kilometers over Earth. It's quite a quick drop over that 100 that we saw just a few minutes ago. And now we'll be looking for drogue parachute deploy within the next minute or so at 11:52 p.m. Pacific time, 6:52 GMT. Those two drogue chutes should deploy at 18,000 feet in altitude. Crew Dragon will be moving approximately 350 miles per hour.
Dragon SpaceX, recovery team reports visual.
Good news, we're at 20 kilometers, seats are rotating.
SpaceX copies on the seat rotation.
And those seats are rotating into the proper landing position. We saw them a little bit more reclined earlier, facing the top of the capsule. And now they are more forward facing towards that side hatch.
We also got confirmation that the recovery teams can also now see Dragon coming back.
Brace for drogues.
Copy, braced for drogues.
So we are waiting for confirmation that the drogue chutes have deployed. We are expecting them to deploy any minute now.
And it looks like those might be our drogue chutes.
Visual 2 chutes.
SpaceX from Resilience, we show good drogues.
SpaceX copies and concurs nominal descent right on 2 drogues.
Continuing to hear good news after good news. 2 drogue chutes have deployed. Everything looks nominal, and we're slowing the Dragon vehicle down. We are expecting the 4 main chutes to deploy within the next minute.
And those 4 drogue chutes. Oh, you can see them being pulled out now.
Visual on 4 mains.
And Resilience copies, and we see a nominal descent rate.
SpaceX copies and concurs nominal descent rate.
And this view coming from the WB-57, very clear image of those 4 main parachutes, slowing the vehicle down to what will be about 16 miles per hour prior to splashdown just off the coast of Panama City, Florida. If it were daylight, we would have an image of those 4 beautiful parachutes being orange and white, and still getting these incredible views, even though we are in a nighttime splashdown.
So we are waiting for visuals of splashdown. The Dragon 1 program had great success with water landing, with 20 successful splashdowns over the course of that program, 9 of which were carried out by flight-proven Dragon spacecrafts.
In space height, you've broken, but we show you just under 800 meters. Still good descent rate.
Just under 800 meters from the Earth. That's about half of a mile. And we are tracking splashdown.
And 600 meters, and we're showing 10 meters per second on the descent rate, a little higher than nominal.
SpaceX copies.
And what a view we have here. Even though it's nighttime, we have some great visuals of Dragon there with its 4 main chutes deployed. Slowly, coming back to Earth. Splashdown is scheduled for just a few minutes from now.
400 meters.
Now just a quarter a mile away from splashdown. And that splashdown time scheduled for 11:57 p.m. Pacific time.
And SpaceX, we show nominal descent rates, 200 meters, brace for splashdown.
SpaceX copies, brace for splashdown.
Seconds away from splashdown, everything nominal aboard Crew Dragon Resilience returning to Earth.
And there are the boats starting to chase after Dragon to begin their recovery operations as soon as Dragon lands. And I don't know if you can hear the applause
on splashdown.
But we have visual confirmation of the Crew-1 resilience
SpaceX
capsule.
From Resilience. That is excellent news. We are splashed down. The pyros have fired. We're water.
SpaceX copies and concurs. We do see mains cut as well.
So again, you heard the applause. The Crew-1 capsule has returned, and we have successful splashdown. The main chutes have also cut as well. The fast boats are now making their way towards the capsule to begin the recovery operations. Again, that first boat is going to start to inspect the capsule and make sure that there isn't any residual toxic fumes in the air.
Dragon, on behalf of NASA and the SpaceX teams, we welcome you back to planet Earth, and thanks for flying SpaceX. For those of you enrolled in our frequent flyer program, you have earned 68 million miles on this voyage.
And SpaceX Resilience, it is back on planet Earth. And we'll take those miles. Are they transferable?
And Dragon will have to refer you to our marketing department for that policy.
And we are in 1. That's 3.1 of 4.800.
And Resilience, please repeat last about 4.800.
Okay, we are at 3, and we show stable 1.
SpaceX copies, stable 1. Good news.
So a bit of levity from the crew and the core about the transferable mileage.
And that splashdown coming at 11:56 p.m. Pacific time, 6:56 GMT. We're hearing reports that the capsule is in stable 1 position, meaning it is upright. As we heard, those 4 main parachutes were cut, and those 2 fast boats will soon approach the vehicle. They will be able to, as we mentioned, sniff for those hypergol fuels, as well as attach buoys to the parachutes and make sure they are recovered. The teams have been ready and waiting about 3 nautical miles away, so it's going to take them around 20 minutes to make their way to Mike, Victor, Shannon, and Suichi inside Crew Dragon. And while the teams move in, we are continuing to watch this scene unfold and this view coming from Go Navigator, the recovery vessel on which we will see Dragon hoisted later.
And that was just so cool to see. The teams had visual of Dragon with his chutes deployed, coming back down to Earth, and then you saw the fast boats sort of just as fast as they could, heading over to Dragon, just to make sure that everything can happen as quickly as possible and make sure that the astronauts are safe.
And good news, the recovery vehicle has a go to approach the spacecraft.
Dragon SpaceX, we are go for recovery personnel to approach. Expect personnel alongside in about 1 minute.
And SpaceX from Dragon, that is great news.
And that comes right on time as well. Just 5 minutes after splashdown, those fast boats are going to be able to approach the capsule and put buoys on those parachutes. And the hypergol checks will continue. And eventually someone will help rig up the capsule to be picked up by the Go Navigator once it has to go to approach the vehicle as well. And all of this action coming after undocking from the International Space Station at 5:35 p.m. Pacific time today, just 6.5 hours from them to board the Crew Dragon, or to depart on Crew Dragon and splash down back on Earth after almost 6 months in space.
And here's a aerial shot of those fast boats approaching.
Dragon SpaceX comm check.
And SpaceX from Resilience, we're still reading you loud and clear.
Loud and clear as well. We just completed a minor comm configuration. Thanks.
You bet. And we see some lights outside. Looks like some people are getting close.
Affirmative. Quite the welcome home party.
So it looks like that first boat has already made it to the capsule. There are a number of other boats and recovery vessels standing by. And once we clear the area of, from any hypergolic vapors, they'll, move on to the next phases of recovery.
And some of those darker spaces you see there in the water are the parachutes that will be collected later on. But this view, yes, from the WB-57 aircraft that provided us with those infrared images as Dragon was still re-entering the Earth's atmosphere, and then all the way through splashdown as well. So you can see that second boat approaching those parachutes to attach some buoys. It really could not have been a more flawless journey home for Crew Dragon Resilience.
Yeah, we continue to see, nominal call after nominal call from
the Dragon SpaceX. We show hypergol sweeps and unfired ordnance checks nominal. Rigger should come aboard momentarily. Expect about 2-5 minutes until capsule lift. Stand by for PMC with SpaceX flight surgeon.
Okay, Resilience copies all. We're standing by.
The coordinator just said we are clear of any hypergols in the area, so we are starting to send the recovery vessel, and we'll start to hoist up Dragon in about 25 minutes. And then shortly after that, he mentioned PMC, which is the private medical conference. Again, the medical staff are one of the first people to talk to the folks inside the Dragon capsule. So, in about 30 minutes here, we should be seeing the hopefully the astronauts egress from the side hatch of the Dragon capsule.
We also heard them mention the rigger will be online, or will be on the capsule shortly. That's the one crew member we were discussing earlier, or one team member, I should say, that will climb on the capsule and begin rigging it for to be hoisted by the Go Navigator vessel. It will help place Crew Dragon into the Dragon nest aboard Go Navigator. Everything's still moving on timeline with this recovery tonight. The first splashdown of a NASA and SpaceX Crew capsule, and the first splashdown for NASA since 1968 with the return of the Apollo 8 astronauts.
And one thing to note, you can see the sheen of the ocean with those lights there, and the sea itself that could have been mistaken for a beach, but we are in the middle of the ocean and the seas are just as calm as they can be. Again, weather was something we were tracking and we waved off Splashdown a couple times this past week, but today's conditions seemed absolutely serene. There it is for landing and recovery operations. So it's just a great thing to see that they don't have to combat any type of inclement weather while they're already doing such important work here in the Gulf of Mexico.
So you can see some of those recovery vessels surrounding the capsule. And the crew members on board still just monitoring the status of the recovery. And as Andy mentioned, will participate in a private medical conference to report back on how they are feeling. And once they are brought on board, they'll have an opportunity to be checked out by medical personnel as well.
Seeing some activity of that fast boat around Crew Dragon. That's what's in the middle of the screen right now. There is a much larger recovery vessel nearby that will hoist up Dragon onto the back end of the ship. We're expecting that to happen in approximately 25 minutes.
And I can't tell exactly, but we may already have that person on Crew Dragon beginning to rig it in preparation for when Go Navigator can approach and it be attached to the ship and brought on board.
So this was the primary site that we landed on off the coast of Panama City in Florida. We did have an alternate site off the coast of Tampa. There was an equivalent amount of personnel and hardware and ships ready to perform the same type of recovery operations in the event that Dragon had to choose that site over the primary one. But things continuing to go smooth.
And we did get a report that the crew is feeling well inside the capsule, just what we wanted to hear. Of course, they will still have that private medical conference and they will still receive medical checkouts once they arrive on Go Navigator. But amazing preliminary news that the crew reports that they are feeling well. And that's quite a feat in itself, to be feeling well after 6 months in microgravity and to return to gravity. So great news all around tonight with the return of Crew Dragon Resilience. Coming up on just about 15 minutes since we had Splashdown today. This evening, that Splashdown coming at 11:56 p.m. Pacific Time, 6:56 GMT. And now you can, a little more clearly on the right-hand side of the capsule, see the person who is preparing it for their to be picked up by Go Navigator with that rigging system. And that's right on time as well.
And so this is the Resilience capsule. It flew for the first time in November of last year. And when it flew, it was pristine and white. And now we've got a little bit of toastiness on its side. And some people have described the re-entered capsule as a sort of a toasted marshmallow. And again, that is just from all the heat on re-entry. It is continuing to stay buoyant in the Gulf of Mexico. The Dragon vehicle itself is designed to be waterproof. And in the event that there is a breach, we do have some abilities to pump water into some bladders in the capsule to make sure that it stays buoyant for as long as possible. But everything continues to go well. We are now seeing a even better view of the rigger on top of the Dragon capsule, preparing it for hoisting later on in a few minutes here.
And that's a great picture. You can see just how calm the sea really is. That is the Gulf of Mexico.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing that it's that truly glassy, as we heard described earlier. A great view of the capsule now and the person preparing it to be hoisted onto Go Navigator.